Good evening to my fellow Canadians and my partners abroad over the United States of America. My name is Robert Kane, and this is the Devil's Advocate. Good evening and welcome. On behalf of myself and my fellow Canadians, I'd like to wish all of you over in the United States of America the safest, the warmest, and the most sincere of holiday greetings. Over this time of year, many of you, as you know, as we begin to follow the media at length concerning the many alleged wrongdoings of your President of the United States, we have to, at this time, especially this time of season, begin to reflect and at least acknowledge some of the many, many, many successes President Donald Trump has had. Currently, he is under fire and continues to come viciously under fire and attack by those particularly of the CNN Corporation. For those of you who are misinformed and somewhat misguided, CNN is not, and nor has it ever been, a public news network. It is a private corporation, and to many of its anchors, they are independently and strictly employed. My only wish is that at this time, every American stop listening to CNN and its fellow media broadcasters. The reason why is particularly at this time, your country, possibly one of the greatest on earth, is in a very, very vulnerable state of attack politically by its own agendists within the United States of America. Formerly those particularly of the former Clinton administration. When I say former, and I'd like to address those at CNN, such as Don Lemon, such as Mike Acosta, such as Brooke Baldwin, and many others who consider themselves the left wing of society, the black hand, if you will. It's truly, at this time, I like to be noticed and to actually shed some facts on the true light of the Clinton administration and exactly how close your country, the United States of America, came to be being completely economically destroyed and otherwise. Good evening to you once again, and I am here to, of course, like I said, shed some light on the very, very facts of our left-wing agendists within the Democratic elect. It is to be said that Michael Moore is one of the most controversial independent film directors of our time. I'm here to discuss the very, very facts with my fellow Americans abroad in the United States, and to shed some light on the very, very, very cold hard facts surrounding his manipulation strategy, the campaign of Hillary Clinton, and thus eminently making self-proclaimed statements and innuendos regarding Donald Trump. I'm about to play you an interview that was done with him on the Political View. I would like you all to listen, and I truly, truly need you to understand what is being said.
We are back with Michael Moore. What a conversation it's already been. Something that I do want to ask you, we've talked about firing up the base on both sides. But ultimately, it's going to be about those that are swung one way or the other to win the election. So if you are in Michigan, if you are in Indiana, and you say, you know what, I don't like everything the president says and does, but my life is going well. I can put food on the table for my kids. I finally have a full-time job. The economy is doing well. What do you say to that person?
Since Donald Trump's vote into the White House, there has been a number of successes that he has had. And let me let me clarify something to the American people. The so-called failure of the General Motors contract was not of his doing. No, it was not, my fellow Americans. It was solely to the doing of the CEOs and the vice chair-elect of General Motors themselves. Currently over here in Canada, they are planning on laying off another 7,500 jobs due to their wanting so desperately to move abroad to China. The initiated deal between the United States President and General Motors is that they would receive a generous tax cut over a period of 1 to 5 years that would save them roughly $18 million. In turn, they would, build two brand new plants in the United States of America. One in Ohio and one in Detroit, Michigan, Michael Moore's hometown. They did not begin this process. They came to the table with your president-elect and omitted to sign the contract agreement, stating that they would rather go to China and build their electric cars. Well, here is Michael Moore's response.
I think most Americans will put their country ahead of whether or not they're doing well.
Really? So we, as a people, are supposed to put our country ahead of each and every one of us prospering. I want everyone in the United States, and even in my own country, Canada, to give that a hard thought. How are we supposed to truly put our country first if we are not doing well economically? If we are not paying taxes? If there are no new jobs? If there are no new incentives brought forth by our government? If we continue to tackle and smash the President of the United States repeatedly, especially those within the media, how in the hell are people going to even begin to put their country first ahead of themselves doing well? Michael Moore, if you please. I'd like to now continue this interview, and you, the people, can make your own assertions.
And that even if they were having to sacrifice, we've seen it with our parents and our grandparents, that they are willing to do those things. Listen, well, you asked me before the break, why did this happen? Or isn't this going to make more Trump voters get out and vote? This is the exact reason that we discovered in the film. Why didn't Hillary come to Michigan? It's a blue state. Why didn't she go to Wisconsin? It's a blue state. I was told while we were making this film that they were afraid that if they sent Hillary to Wisconsin, it would remind the Trump voters they got to get out and vote. when you're afraid to send your own candidate out there,
That's crazy.
it's crazy. And that's what and I do show in this film, the Democrats are partly responsible for this because they're constantly compromising, they're constantly backing down,
Right.
they've got no spine, and I think the people are tired of it. And there's a whole
Really, Democrats have got no spine. They can't fight back. They won't fight back. My very, very simple response to that, Mr. Michael Cheeseburger eating more. My response to that is very simple. Almost to the day that Donald Trump took office in the White House, he has been on the ropes. Russia this, Saudi that, taxes this, taxes that, collusion. And may I remind the American people, not even currently to date has Cohen brought forth any evidence to the Mueller case that would give the representatives of the House elect to move forward with an impeachment. How absolutely disgusting. This has been going on for the last year and a half. How absolutely disgusting. In the words of Donald Trump and the Trump train, I say myself, let the trials for treason begin. My name is Robert Kane, and you're watching The Devil's Advocate.